Hello and welcome. My name is Shamsuddin. In this video, I'll be showing you how to use multiple figures in Blender using the Rig-GNS add-on. The Rig-GNS add-on is a Blender add-on for rigging Genesis figures in Blender and animating the figures with animations from Mixamo. It can also be used to create lip sync and facial expressions on the figure. So right now I have that launched. So now I'm going to quickly load a Genesis figure. So I'm going to come over to figures here. Then I'm going to start with the Genesis 8 basic female. Double click to load that. All right, so now I'm going to come over to wardrobe and just double click to add those clothing. All right, maybe I'll also add hair to the figure. Before I export the figure, I like to come over to the parameters pane. Then I'm going to come over to mesh resolution. It's right under generals here. When you expand this, you will find mesh resolution. I'm going to change this resolution level from high to base, and I'm going to do the same for the rest of these items. So I'm going to select these. Okay, this is already in base. Now I'm going to come over to scene and make sure I have my figure selected. Then I'm going to come over to file, then export. And then this is my targeted folder. Now I'll just rename this to G8F. So that is Genesis 8 female. So now I'm going to save. And here in the export option, you can see I have selected figures. And here in the output options, I have this FBX 2012 binary. Just make sure it's always binary. So I'm going to use this. And also you can see I have collect textures to folder, merge clothing into figure skeleton, allow degraded skinning, and allow degraded scaling. So now I'm going to press accept and wait for that to export. All right, so now I'm going to delete this figure and load in a different Genesis figure. Now I'm going to go back to figures and load in the second figure, but I'm going to repeat the same process as the first one. So I'll fast forward through this. Okay, now that I have both figures exported, I'm going to switch over to Blender. Okay, so I'm going to press delete this cube. Already I have my Rig-GNS add-on installed. So when I press N and bring up the properties panel, you'll find the add-on here in this side tab. Now I'm going to click import GNS figure. It's right here in the first panel. Like when you expand this, you import the Genesis figure. So I'm going to go to the folder where I have the figures. I'm going to start with G8F female. That's Genesis 8 female rather. Then import Genesis figure. All right, so once the figure is imported into the scene, I'm going to expand the rig figure tab here. Now I'm going to go through this rigging sequence. So I'm going to start with add meta rig and then match rig and then generate rig. This usually takes some seconds. All right, so now I'll finally click the rig figure button, and this should take a few seconds as well. With this figure fully rigged, I'm going to press tab and go to object mode. Now I'm going to move this to the side. So let me just turn on this gizmo and just shift this to the side like this, because I kind of need the center here to rig the second figure. Now I'm going to click import Genesis figure, then select the male and import that. All right, so this is the next figure. So I'm going to repeat the same process as before. So now I have both characters rigged. Now I'm going to collapse this panel and then expand the animations panel. Now I'm going to use this panel to animate the character using animations from Mixamo. So first you have to get the Mixamo animations from the website. This button and direct you there. Now I'm going to click this, and you want to make sure you have your internet connected. So here is the Mixamo homepage. You can sign up for free, but I'll just go ahead and log in since I already have an account. Alright, so now when using the Rig-GNS add-on, it's kind of important to have your character as export. You can come over to character here and just search export. You want to always have these as your preview figure when using the Rig-GNS add-on, because it doesn't always work well with other figures. Alright, so now I'm going to go back to animations. So it's really important you have an idea of what animations you want. Right now in my scene, I want to tell a short story. So my story, already I have an idea of what the story is. I want where this guy is walking like he's drunk or something, and then he bumps into this lady, and then she like reacted and was like, hey, kind of angry at him, sort of, and then it's leads to a combat. So already I have an idea of what the story is going to be, so I'll know what animations to look for. So now I'm going to go back to Mixamo again. So like I said, I want the guy to drunk walking and then bumps into her. So I'm going to just type drunk. Okay, so here is an animation. So I'll click it to preview it here. All right, so this is my drunk walk. There's something here where it says in place, so we can click this to keep the animations in place, like in a fixed position. But I don't really want this. I prefer to have the progressive walk. So I'm going to uncheck the in place and then come over and download the animation. So here I have this format. I'll leave it as this. It is default, the FBX binary. And I'm going to reduce the frame to 24. Then I'm going to download without skin and leave this as none, and then click the download button. And I'm going to download other animations I'm going to need. So I'm going to fast forward through all that. So now that I have my animations downloaded, all right, I'm going to quickly go to object mode. So one thing I like to do is just have these characters face each other so that they kind of interact. So now I'm going to press R and then rotate this on the z-axis 90 degrees. I'll do the same for the lady here. So now I'm going to come over to the import button here and then click import. So I'm going to go to downloads where I have the animation. So I'm going to start with drunk walk and then import this. All right, so as soon as your animation is imported, the animated rig, you can see it right here. So I'm going to click bind to have it binded to the active selection. All right, so now when I press spacebar to play the animation, you can see our drunk animation. I'm going to import another animation here now. So I'm going to import texting and walking, then import that. All right, so to bind this to this lady here, I'm going to have to select the rig first and then click bind. All right, so you can see both of these characters are animated. So one thing I also want to point out is this. If you notice, currently this ends around 80 frames, while these may be shorter, but already you can see the animation is playing up to frame 80. So let's quickly watch and see where this animation stops. So it's already stopped before 80. So a way to adjust the frame range for this animation, you can simply come over here, this clock icon here, and just click it. So you can see now it reduced the frame range to about 74 or so. So that is what this button is for. And this button is a toggle between I key and F key. So when I press it, you can see a character kind of returns to I key. And when I turn it off, it goes back to F key. Alright, so this button is used for positioning the rig. I'm going to show you how to use this later on. I need to bake the animations before I can use this. And here is just a reset button that resets and the character to its original default pose. So also I need to have animations on the rig before I can use this. So currently the animation is not yet baked to this rig. So to bake the animation, I'll simply come over here and click the bake button. And of course we can remove the animations by selecting the rig and clicking remove. So it's returned back to default place. So now I want to bake the animations for this drunk walk. So I'm going to select it and then click bake animation. Okay, so the animation is already baked. So I'm going to expand this a little. So here you can see we have animation action. So I'm going to rename this to drunk walk. All right, so now I'm going to import another animation. So let me import this again. Okay, so I'm going to select this and click bind. And then I'm going to play. Okay, so let me bring your attention to this button here. So this says adjust. So here you can adjust all these different bones on this very rig. So say if I want to adjust the head, all I need to do is just come closer and have a look at the head and then click and then drag up or down. So this kind of adjusts the head. You can do the same for the neck. If you want her to look down a bit more, you can do this for the shoulders. If you want her shoulders to go up, because if you want it to move a bit higher, click and then pull up. So this is basically what all of these are. Okay, so now I'm also going to just bake the animation for this character. All right, so now you can see we have keyframes of the character on the timeline here. All right, so I'm also going to rename this. I'm going to call this walk texting. Okay, so I'm going to import the rest of the animations. And it doesn't really matter which of the figures you have the animations binded to. All we need is to have it baked into Blender. So I'm clicking bake animation now. All right, so you always need to bind before you bake the animation. All right, so I think I'm going to just work with only these are for animation. So when I click this button here, you can see all the animations I have in my scene. So I'm going to work with just this four. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do now is split my screen. So I'll come over to the edge here and drag. Okay, so I'm going to change this to the NLA editor. Here it is, nonlinear animation. Drag this a bit down. All right, so here you can see I have G8F rig. And then I have the G8M rig. Okay, so now I'm just going to come back to frame 1. And I want to start with this guy being drunk. So let me go back to the Rig-GNS panel. And before that, let me quickly turn off some of these bones, because I don't need most of the IK bones. So turn this off. And maybe... All right, so I'm going to switch back to the Rig-GNS tab. So now I'm going to select the drunk walk animation. All right, so now let me play that. Okay, you can see here the length of our animation is up to 74 or so, and it's currently the frame currently ends around 40. So to adjust that, you just click on this button, and automatically you have that. So let's watch the animation. All right, so I want to make this animation longer than it is. So, okay, there's an option here in the NLA editor, but first I'll need to push this down. So this is drunk work for G8M rig. So I'll need to click this to push this down. Now I have the animation in the NLA editor. So now I can press N for the properties panel and then click strip. So there's an option here on the action clip called repeats. Yeah, this is repeat here. So let me zoom out on this. So when I increase the length of this animation, you can see when I click 2, for instance, it repeats the animation twice. So let me click the match frame button so it matches this. So the only issues with this is when it starts from here and then it goes to this point, and then the moment it exits the first animation, then it goes back again to this point, and we don't want that. We want it to continue from this point to this point. So I'm going to show you how to do that now. So let me just turn this back to 1, and let me leave the frame range as this. All right, so now I'm just going to select this. With this selected already, so I'm going to hit Shift D to duplicate it, just like anything else in Blender. So I'm going to drag to this point. Okay. So now when I come over here, I'm going to just move the cursor to the last point around here. So if you notice the animation here, you can see the right foot here is planted to the ground when the animations end. So you can see it's fixed to the ground. So what I like to do is just mark the position of this big toe. So I'm going to hold down Shift and right click to kind of place the cursor there. This is just as like a marker. So now I'm just going to go to the next frame where this second animation is starting. All right, you can see this is where the toe is and this is where it is now. So this is where this other button comes into use. So first of all, you need to select the animation and then press tab to go to tweak mode, right? And then you can use this button now to click and then drag. Okay, let's just work with this. It won't really matter. All right, so now I'm going to press tab to exit tweak mode. All right, so now when I play from here, you can see our animation continues. So this is simply how to keep the progress of the animation. All right, so there's something we could do as well, but I don't think it's even necessary, but let's do it anyway. So we can select the strip here and then go to blend in. And I just like to work with 3 frames. So just leave this as 3 frames and drag it to overlap a bit. So let's look at the animation again. All right, so that's done. So now I'm going to just quickly go to side view. So just want to see the best frame where this girl will be bumping into the girl. So let me play. Okay. So I want the bumping to be around here, because this is where he kind of moving shoulders to the front, so as to deliberately hitting the girl. So let's just mark that. So now I'm going to press M to place a marker on this frame. So let's just rename it with Control M. Call this bump. All right, so now select the female rig. Already we have it as texting. So I'm going to push that down so you can see talking texting. Actually, what I intend to write was walk texting. So let's correct that here. All right. So now here in the NLA editor, I'll press the push down button. So now you can see we have the animation and then it ends. So I can elongate this animation, but I'll rather just move it to around this point. Or let's just keep it around here. Okay, so this is where he bumps into her. So I can either choose to move this rig all the way or use the adjust position button. So let me just use the rig. Also, let me turn off the IK so it's a bit more visible. Okay, so this is where he bumps into this girl. Okay, so we can use the button here. So first we need to press tab to go to tweak mode, and then we can use this button here to just move this girl to the side. All right, to this side rather. Okay. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do now is, of course, I need to exit tweak mode, and then I'm going to select the shoved spin, and then here it is, then push down, and then obviously I have both of these selected. Control Z, select just this, and let's just watch the animation. So this is the point where she receives the impact and then goes spinning. And one other thing we should keep in mind is the movement. So you can see she has her left foot planted, and then her right foot planted, and then her left foot. So the moment she's moving her left foot, when it's almost matching her right foot, that's the point where she starts spinning. So I'm going to just cut this frame here where her left foot is being lifted from the ground and it's about to be planted forward, and just the moment where it's matching the right foot. So I'm going to press Y to split this animation. So I'm going to delete this excess. I'm going to bring this to about this point. Okay, so just like in the shoved animation, I'm going to look for the point where she's lifting her left foot and almost where it's matching the right foot. So this will work. So I'm going to also press Y and then delete this. So you can see this is where her foot is planted. So I'm going to hold down Shift and right click to place the cursor there. All right. So now I'm going to position this foot here to this point again. So let's do that. First, we'll go to tweak mode, press tab. I'm going to click and drag. Okay, I think I can work with this. All right, so I'm going to exit tweak mode. Okay, so I think I might have to trim this again. And delete the excess. I'm also going to use the blend in, use 3 frames. Okay. All right, I think this is somewhat okay. So let me turn off the overlays and also have that smart cap and also texture. All right, so I'm going to turn off the gizmos as well and then play the animation and just watch. I think that was quite too soon. So let me move this again. Let me look at it from the side. All right, so now I'm going to bake this animation and make the adjustments again. So I'm going to turn on my overlays, zoom out, and then play the animation again. Okay, so now maybe I'll just select this animation. Let me select this rig, and I'm going to bake this animation. So I'm going to click the match frame so it matches this animation, and then I'm going to come over and click bake animation. So it's going to bake the animation just for this character. Okay, so now we have the animation, so we can just, let me rename it here, drunk So let me rename it to drunk walk long. Okay. So now I don't need these two. I'm going to delete them and then drop this. Of course, I don't also need this. Oops. Control Z. So this is a track I don't need, so I'm going to delete this track as well. All right, so now I have one animation for this. So now I'm just going to so now I'm just going to take this back so that the impact is right at here. So I'm going to go to tweak mode by pressing tab. Okay, select this. Actually, I don't have an active, so now I'm going to go to tweak mode and drag this backwards. Okay, something like this, and then press tab to exit and play the animation again. Okay, I kind of like this better. All right, so let's select this character and adjust the frame range. So finally, I'm going to add the last animation for this character. So I'll select this. And we have the right one here. This is the animation I just added. So I'm going to click the drop down, or push down rather, and then drag it to this point. So let's understand the animation. The left foot actually turns with the right foot planted. So I'm going to come out to the last frame here. Let me drag this away. Okay. So now I'm going to just mark right to shift and then right click. All right, so I'm going to go to tweak mode and then try to drag as straight as possible. Yeah, okay, I think I'm okay with this. So now I'll exit tweak mode and then overlap this a bit and change the blending to 3 frames. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this video. Please don't forget to like this video if you find it useful, and also subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this. Thank you for watching.